I remember getting a knock on my door at 10 o'clock at night. Um, I remember two Washington County sheriffs being there, two social workers being there. Um, I remember my son Matthew being asleep on the couch, my son Christian being awake, and Aubrey being awake, my daughter. I remember thinking, I can get past this sheriff and I can get past these social workers, but I can't get to Matthew to take him with me. So I couldn't leave my third kid behind, so they took my kids. There was a moment when I put Christian and Aubrey behind me in my bedroom. I said, "You're not touching my kids."
Yeah.
And that's when the cops went for their taser pistols, whatever they were going for. Aubrey freaked out, said, "Daddy, don't let him take me." Christian said, Christian said a few cuss words and said, "I'm not going." That's when he ran off. And Matthew was pretty much in a daze because he had just been woken up because he was sleeping right there on the couch. We had an open case because we had both tested dirty for methamphetamines. I had been out in the driveway having a conversation with their mom, and they had overheard the conversation and had gone to school and said something. The social worker came to the school to talk to him, just on a random visit at the school, because apparently they're allowed to do that, and was talking to him. And my son mentioned part of the conversation to the social worker, and with no warning at all, about 10 o'clock at night, they were beating on my door. She said that I had put my kids in a position, what did she say? I had put my kids in a position to hear a conversation that they shouldn't have been hearing. They didn't tell us anything because we had a case with them. They were allowed to go to the school anytime they wanted, see our kids and talk to our kids about anything they wanted without our knowledge. And she got into school and talked to our kids, and that's when it happened. I think it took about 3 days before they let us actually go see him and visit with him. I remember my kids being there through the holiday, through Thanksgiving and Christmas. I remember the visits were really, I mean, I remember Aubrey just freaking out, crying every time we'd leave. They'd freak out, and Christian would have to help hold her behind the door so that we could leave. They told us we couldn't talk to our kids about what was going on. They told our kids they couldn't talk to us about what was going on in the children's cabinet. They weren't allowed to, I mean, like if we got into issues that were going on in the children's cabinet, they weren't allowed to speak about that. Like there's stuff missing, fights they were getting into. Aubrey started peeing in the bed, them being uncomfortable, them not getting enough to eat, them being hungry. Matthew and Christian ended up going to a foster home in Lemon Valley, and my daughter ended up going to a family of mine. They didn't all go together because there wasn't room at that point in time for them to all go together. I mean, there were lots of incidences. I was told that they were told to go to bed without dinner at certain times.
This is in the classroom?
Yeah. I was told Matthew was made to sleep on the floor. I was told that the family had gone to Sizzler one night. Christian was told he couldn't eat, but they were scared to say anything to social services because of the repercussions. But the boys, when they first got back, the boys were just like, I mean, they were all like this. You know, they were all united. They were them. I think the only reason my kids have been really resilient through this process is because, as parents, my wife and I have stepped up so much more
After,
and made them so much more. Like before all this went down, I wouldn't tell my kids, you can talk to me, right? I wouldn't grab my kid and hug my kid. I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? I was very standoffish, and it wasn't towards kids, it was towards everybody. And I learned through it that, man, if you got kids, hug them.